Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, and we are continuing with making inferences. We can understand a character's point of view about something when we think about how they feel about it. We use clues in the text, these are our context clues, and our background knowledge to make an inference. In fiction texts, which means fake, that's a story that is fake, readers can infer how characters are feeling, why a character is acting a certain way, and why the problem in the story is a challenge for a character. Now, we are going to practice this. Here I have a paragraph, and I want you to show me your big eyes. I want you to read along with me as I read this aloud. A woman finished reading a story and closed the book. About 20 children got up from the carpet and went to a corner of the room. They began taking coats and hats off of hooks. After putting on their coats and hats, the children lined up. So that was our information. That was all of this, all of these actions that's going on in this paragraph. Those are our context clues. And now we're going to combine that with our background knowledge, which is our personal thoughts and experiences, to make an inference. Where do you think the children are going? Where do you think the children are going? I want your teacher to pause this recording, and we are going to discuss this. Where are the children going? How do you know? Go ahead and pause now. Okay. My inference was they are at school and they are going outside. I know this because in the text it said 20 children. They got up and they put their coats on. You only need coats for being outside. Then they lined up. We line up when we are leaving. So I think that when I read this, two things came to mind. It might be that they are leaving school to go home. Another idea might be that they were going outside for recess. Did you make the same inference that I made? Shake your head yes or no. If you did, that's awesome. Was your evidence the same as mine? Great. Let's try another one. A boy asked his mother for help getting some things off of a shelf. She took down some jars and brushes, and the boy brought them to the kitchen table. I'm already thinking about what would we use jars and brushes for? And he brought them to the kitchen table. Next, he went to his mother's desk and took out a blank sheet of paper. He put the piece of paper on the kitchen table. Finally, the boy filled up a cup of water and sat down at the table with all of these things. Now we're going to make an inference. What is the boy going to do? How do you know? Go ahead and pause it to discuss. Okay, let's see if you got the same answer that I got. The boy is about to paint. I know this because he is using brushes, plain paper, and water. My background knowledge is that I use all of these things to paint. So I combine my context clues and my background knowledge to make an inference that the boy is going to paint. Let's try another one. A class of students walked with their teacher to a special room in their school. A special room? Friends, make sure you're reading along with me, please. They sat down and a woman came out to read them a story. After she read them the story, the children began looking around at the shelves of books. Each student chose one book. The children lined up and the woman scanned their books for a special computer. When everyone was finished, the children left with their teacher and the woman stayed in the room. Now we're going to make an inference. What is the woman's job? How do you know? Use your context clues and your background knowledge. I bet you can get this one really quickly. Teachers, go ahead and pause. Awesome. The woman's job is she's a librarian. The text says that she read them a story. It also tells me that the children went to pick out books. Then she scanned their books. These are all things that our librarian, Mrs. Andrews, does for us. I know it wasn't a teacher because she stayed in the library when they left. And when I reread this, I noticed that it said a special room. The library is a special room in our school. If you got that, give me a silent cheer. Great job. Now we are going to read a portion of the book, Knots on the Counting Rope. Mr. Crumpton and Mr. Wilkins read this to us and they did such an awesome job. Now we're going to use it to make an inference. So let's read this. This is a paragraph, but it's made up of dialogue, so it has a lot of spaces between it. I just wanted you to notice that this is all one portion of information. And we can also connect this to what we learned in our writing yesterday with dialogue. I see the quotation marks and our tags of who is speaking. Now read along as I read aloud. Each day you are growing stronger. You are learning to cross the dark mountains, Grandfather said. I already have crossed some of the dark mountains, haven't I, Grandfather? The boy asked. There will be more, boy. Dark mountains are always around us. They have no beginnings and they have no endings, Grandfather said. But we know that they are there when we suddenly feel afraid, replied the boy. Yes, boy, afraid to do what we know we have to do, said Grandfather. What inference can we make here? When I read this, I'm noticing that he's talking about dark mountains that are always around us. Dark mountains that are always around us. I'm going to infer that the grandfather is not talking about real mountains. He says there will be more. The little boy says, I have already crossed some of the dark mountains. And they talk about feeling afraid. Based on the things that I have experienced and the way that they are talking about it, I'm going to infer that these dark mountains are the challenges that we might face. What do you think? Do you agree? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let's try another one. This is the next part of the book. Will I always have to live with a dark curtain in front of my eyes? Asked the boy. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to think. What does he mean by dark curtain in front of his eyes? I ask myself, does he mean a real curtain? Yes, boy, you were born with a dark curtain over your eyes, replied Grandfather. But there are many ways to see, Grandfather, said the boy. Yes, you are learning to see through your darkness because you have the strength of blue horses, Grandfather stated. What can we infer about this? When I look at this part, dark curtain in front of my eyes, what inference can I make? I want you to pause here and talk with your class about what we can infer. You might have said that the dark curtain is not really a real curtain, but it's that he's blind, which means he has a hard time seeing. I know that's a really big inference to make, but we can use our context clues of things that affect our eyes, or our background knowledge, not our context clues, for things that affect our eyes and the way that they talk about this. You are learning to see through your darkness because you have the strength of blue horses. Great job. For your closing today, I want you to type in the chat the 2 things you need to use when we're making an inference. We use our blank and our blank to make inferences. So go ahead and type that in the chat and hit enter when your teacher says waterfall. Teachers, you can pause here if you need more time for this visual. Awesome job working today, friends.